Now, what I've done is I've put in everything that I use regularly into my favorites. And you'll see I have my dashboard here, the chat rooms, the documents library, even my invoices in my favorites. That way I can get to it quickly. So let's go to the dashboard, because most of what you'll be doing as a DE will be operating out of this dashboard. So I'm clicking here. And you'll see this is what your dashboard looks like. One of the primary places that you'll be working from is this writing index right here. Now, I'm going to be working with one of my students who has given me permission to share her work with you. And what you'll be seeing when you open up basically is what we call the Creating Content Index. So if you take a look right here, you'll see this is a place for students to put all of their information and about their interviews and research they've done. And some of them will do that regularly and some of them won't. But your primary focus is going to be on the purple section here. This is a place where you keep all the author keeps all of the pieces. And sometimes you have to help the author get those pieces into this content index. But if you always remember that the goal of the content index is a collective record of what has been done with the author, with the writing, and it's not just for your purposes or the author's purposes, it's also for every editor who comes behind you, so that everybody has familiarity with what's been done on the pieces. So if you keep that in mind, it's really easier to frame how you deal with this and what you say, that kind of thing. So as you can see, this particular author has been really prolific. That's not always the case, but in this case it is. And I chose her because she's a particularly great writer, and those typically are the most difficult types of reviews to do, because sometimes it's hard to find something to say when the writing is really good. So I'm going to open up. Her topic is about. She's discussing how certain communities are being underrepresented in the medical community in terms of health and resources. And so she does a lot of history with certain groups and explains how the history of those groups has impacted how they're treated in the medical system today. And her goal is to highlight folks who have made great strides in bridging that gap. So as you can see, some of her, these are some of the ones that we've already talked about, but let's take a look. So you'll see your tag, that's going to pop up in your notification. But if you do not click a highlight, it's going to give you this peachy color, like this one. And I don't like that. I mean, that's like the default kind of highlight, but we're not gonna do that. So I'm gonna highlight this because I think she did a great job, and I'm gonna say, love this. A great way to start, because most people are familiar with those references. Okay, so you always want to make sure you try to find some positive things, some good things to highlight, because you want. All right, now you'll see this a lot. This is actually, I'm going to click on this. This is actually a link to the article that she's using to as her source for this. But obviously links aren't going to work here. So she's going to have to cite that traditionally. Now, the way I do it, anything that has to do with references, I always highlight in green. So I'm going to click here and I'm going to highlight it in green. And I'm going to click comment, and I'm going to make a comment right here in line. This is what's known as an inline comment. And I'm going to say, be sure to cite all sources in Chicago style formatting. Okay, that is a reminder. She's not necessarily going to do that right now, but that's a reminder to both of us that that has to be done. I'm going to close that box, and notice that everywhere I've made a comment pops up right here. And I'm going to open up the conversational panel. So what you see is that every edit that I've made, every comment I've made pops up here. So it's kind of a running tally of all the changes and comments that are made. So I'm just going to close that back out. Okay. So now I use green. You can use whatever color you want, but I would make sure that it was consistent. So this writer knows anytime she sees something green in any of the pieces, it has to do with research. And I set that up early on in our procedures with each other. And just as she knows that things are in blue are always positive comments, things in green are always going to be research connected. And it's just a really good idea to do that, just so that you and your writer can establish kind of this system of making comments. Okay, this is just an example. So she gave some examples here about low-risk jobs and industries. Now she talks about agricultural workers and how it's contributed to the increase of mortality and related occupational hazards. As a reader, I'm wanting to know, why is that? So I'm going to just comment right here. I'm going to click comment. Whoops. That's what happens. You have to highlight it. I don't want it to be peach. I want it to be pink. So I'm just going to click here, click pink, click comment. And I'm going to say, how does working in the ag industry contribute to mortality? One of the most important things you can do now is something that is called a wrap up, okay? So you're going to go into your conversation bar here, and you're going to put your writer's name here, and that's what I'm going to do here. And the first thing I always like to do is give a really great compliment. I always try to, because writers are so sensitive about their work, and mostly though, they're just intimidated and they feel really vulnerable. So you want to really give a lot of encouragement. I'm going to say it's well researched. Sometimes you'll have to go through here and just remind yourself, oh, for example, I need to add, be sure that all images that aren't original have permission. I'm going to tell her that can be handled later, but just be aware that that will come up. And I'm just going to encourage her, keep up the good work. And then I'm going to tag my DE, and in my case it's Ty, and we're going to tag Shonda. This is the dynamic duo. We always include both of these guys, your DE wrangler, and your and of course Shonda, and all of your summaries, your wrap-ups, okay? And then I'm going to click send. But I'm not finished. So now I have to go. I'm going to go back to where I started, and I'm going to finish the thing. So this is the piece I read. She tagged me. I've reviewed it. Now I'm going to do just a summary wrap-up piece. This is not repeating what I just said. It's taking the highlights of what I just said. Remember that this index is going to be the record of everything that has happened with this writer's piece from the beginning to the end. So this is a message that I'm basically leaving, not just for the writer, but for anybody else who comes in here to look at this index from now until publication, okay? So if you keep that in mind and kind of remember it that way, it makes it a lot easier. Then you are done. Congratulations, you have reviewed your first piece. It's really not difficult. It's all about kind of getting into the groove, kind of working out a system for yourself, paying attention to what's being said, always keeping in mind that you want to encourage the writer, that your job is to make them better and better and better each piece that they write, giving them a system to follow, suggestions for improvement, patting them on the back when they do great things, and always remembering the final result is that they're going to end up writing a book, and you just want it to be great, and you will have been a part of that. So I appreciate you taking time to watch this video or listen to this video, and I hope that it helps. And I want you to have just a great day, and I'll see you in the DE meetings. Bye.